Welcome to another edition of Preps Plus Extra. How you doing? I'm Mark Stewart, prep editor of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, and he still is J.R. Radcliffe, sports editor of Now Newspapers. How you doing this week?
Doing good. Looking forward to a huge weekend of basketball out in my neck of the woods for Lake Country Publications. The Classic 8 is pretty much aligned for some pretty big battles this weekend.
Yeah. Let's start there with the Classic 8 because you look at the boys and the girls side, and there's some interesting matchups involving really all the same schools. You got Arrowhead and Kettle Moraine going head-to-head, Waukesha West and Mukwonago going head-to-head, and for the boys and girls, those are going to have some, championship ramifications. But let's start with on the girls' side. Go ahead. You're going to be at West Mukwonago on Friday, right?
Actually, it'll be a doubleheader. The girls' game comes first, and then the boys. So it's going to be a huge atmosphere because both those games, like you said, could say a lot about the Classic 8 race. But as the girls go, Mukwonago and I'm getting all tied up between the four schools. Mukwonago and Waukesha West, they're both just below that threshold of the top, with Kettle Moraine at 5-0 right now in league play. Now, Kettle Moraine hasn't seen Arrowhead or Waukesha West. They've got the big quality win over Mukwonago, but there's a bunch of teams there, the three of them at 4-1, that are just kind of waiting, chomping at the bit to get their chance. Kettle Moraine and Waukesha West, or I should say Waukesha West and Mukwonago, two of those teams right back there, and I think they're pretty evenly matched. They both have pretty standout scoring players. Bree Serra from Mukwonago, we've talked about her, just a sophomore, and Danny Rhodes at Waukesha West is a really promising underclassman as well, one of the top scorers in the conference. So both teams have a lot of accompanying talent as well. Ellie Mikulski from Mukwonago had 18 points and 18 rebounds against Sussex Hamilton last Wednesday. She's a 6'2" post player. Katie Walls for Waukesha West is their post presence, so they match up quite nicely. I think it'll be a really good game. Yeah,
and obviously, you still got Arrowhead and Kettle Moraine. Kettle Moraine is, they got a new coach this year. Mike Hamilton's got the team off to a great start. They're the last undefeated team in the league play right now, going up against Arrowhead Friday night, which, at least according to, the Journal-Sentinel rankings, which obviously is all we care about here. We have them ranked third in the area behind Pius and Milwaukee. So obviously as an organization, that's the team we like right now out of that league. But that's going to be another interesting matchup because Kettle Moraine still has, a lot of, they got a lot of key games coming up. Even though they beat Mukwonago, they still have to play Arrowhead. Still got West a couple times.
Yeah, and Waukesha West comes up next week, Tuesday, right off the bat. So they've got really back-to-back big games, both the boys and the girls, but especially the girls. Now, like you said, that Mukwonago win is as big a win as they've had this season. They've got kind of a senior triumvirate going on. Lindley Ochtenhagen is one of the top scorers in the conference. And then Chloe Tompkins and Emma Melitik, who have a ton of experience on the varsity. And they've had 3 coaches in 3 years, so they've been asked to do a lot. With Mike Hamilton, you talked about coming from a great program with New Berlin Eisenhower, went to the state final last year, just a ton of success there, and he really brought sort of a higher expectation there. Not that the previous coaches didn't, but for whatever reason, his system seemed to be working. They've started off here with 9 straight wins following the first loss of the season against Franklin in the first game of the season, and now they come in with a ton of confidence and the only undefeated team in the conference to this point. I do think, though, Arrowhead is probably, in my estimation, the best team, the girls' team in the conference. Kelly Smith leads that squad. They've got a lot of talented pieces, junior Allie May, and a ton of guards. So I still think Arrowhead is the team to beat, but Kettle Moraine can say otherwise on Friday.
Right. Now, switch gears here. I'm going to, same question, or you kind of touched on it. You got on the boys' side, Arrowhead, Kettle Moraine, Waukesha West, Mukwonago. All those teams are bunched up in, either first or second place right now. It's early in January, but if I had to say right now, who do you think's got, who do you think might come out of that as the top team? Can you put a finger on it?
I can't, not firmly, but I would lean towards Mukwonago at this point. I still think Dominic Zizalskis, who was so good for them last year, has still kind of not rounded into basketball form just yet. He's certainly been on that path. He's still a great rebounder. Dan Garrett's a 7-footer who comes off the bench for them, has really had some pretty good outings lately, and his confidence is building. And then they've still got Aaron Nixon, who I think is as good a guard as anybody in the area. He's a great playmaker and sets up his teammates very well. I think if I had to go one way, I would lean towards them. Big battle with West, and that's right now a true battle for first place. Both have one loss in the conference, and the winner there will take first place by themselves. But Waukesha West maybe has the best player in the conference in Ernest Kauser. I'm sure Paul Miller, Kettle Moraine has an argument there too, but a big point guard who can make a lot of plays for West has really evolved in the last couple of years with the varsity there. So Waukesha West is an interesting team. I can't get a beat on them, and we talked about this off camera a little bit. Some great wins. Milwaukee King comes to mind, and then some puzzling losses losses. They lost to Menominee Falls in overtime, and I'm drawing a blank. And Waukesha North, a conference loss where they scored, I think, 27 points. So kind of hard to really get a grasp on just how good Waukesha West is. They've got a great coach, though, and great personnel.
Yeah, and the team out of that bunch that intrigues me, I guess, is Kettle Moraine, because even though they have 2 conference losses right now, the games were close enough that they could easily be undefeated right now, and then this whole conversation would probably have a different tone, and we'd be talking about hey, maybe this is the year Kettle Moraine breaks through and gets that conference title. So
it still very well could be too. They've got Paul Miller, who, like I said, could be the best player in the conference. Mitchell Olson on the inside. Mitch Pfeiffer has really developed as a quality varsity player for them too. So they could easily be the team that comes out ahead. I know they expected to be, but at the end of the year, the team to beat. Big game then for them with Arrowhead. Arrowhead is just constantly getting better as the year goes on. They're always at their best at the end of the year. Craig Haase has a very tough non-conference schedule, and they seem to really be hitting their stride. They've got Ricky Finko and Billy Hirschfeld, a guard and a post player, leading them in the senior class, and a really promising sophomore in Bryce Enzi, who just his profile has sort of expanded as the season has gone along.
Yeah, and Arrowhead's another team that you really can't forget. Ever since they won the state title, back in 2010, I think the following year, the thought or the thinking is, okay, they lost all these guys. How are they going to do it? And they put together another team, and I think they won the conference that year. Mm-hmm. Last year, I think I'm drawing a blank here, but they're always in the mix. And I saw them earlier this year when they played Brookfield Central, and they gave Brookfield Central a great game, for about 3 quarters and change. And they're just one of those teams that it never surprises me if they do well, just because they just got guys there just know how to win.
Right. Craig Hase's an incredible coach. Defensively, they always have it going on. Last year, they I think tied with Mukwonago for the conference championship. Beat Mukwonago twice, but had a couple bad losses. Well, I shouldn't say bad losses, but a couple surprising losses over the course of the conference season. But still, very good. They run into Germantown in the playoffs, so that's always a big roadblock for them in the last couple seasons.
Right. Now that was a nice synopsis of the Class A. But there's another team out there that maybe is not feeling the love a little bit. We're on the boys' side, there's a lot of talk about Germantown and Brookfield Central, which played Tuesday night. But there's another team that's playing pretty good ball in Milwaukee King, and here's Curtis Weathers to talk about their victory over Vincent last week.
On defense, we work as hard as we possibly can. Coach Guys always tells us never to take any possessions off, and we just try to embody our coach and meet his energy. Last year we kind of struggled upstate, but this year I think that we're even stronger. I think that if we continue to share the ball how we do, I think that we're only going to get better.
And JR, as Curtis noted, they've had a lot of good wins this year. We did talk about their loss to Waukesha West. King lost to Waukesha West early in the year, but in that game they were missing one of their better players. The kid has since come back, and I think if they played again, who knows what would happen. But King is one of those teams where they went down to Texas and had a nice showing down there at a tournament in Houston. Beat one of the better teams in Houston's I guess mid-sized state ranking down there. And they're a team that while everyone's talking about and probably rightfully so right now, Brookfield Central and Germantown and how great a team Brookfield Central is, we can't forget that they still got to go through King to get to state. I mean, King has been the team that's been kind of a thorn in their side, in the postseason. And another team you got in that part of the bracket is Milwaukee Riverside, which is another state-ranked team. So that's a pretty loaded bracket, and it's hard. I don't think any of those teams, regardless of how good they are, can really feel comfortable saying, hey, we're going to make a deep tournament run.
And we've talked a couple times about the blueprint Brookfield Central has had when we talk about them matching up with Germantown, that they're one of the few teams that have given Germantown a scare. Granted, it's with different personnel a couple of years ago in the state title game, but Milwaukee King is the only other team that can say they were within a single possession of Germantown during their streak. And I've heard a lot of people compare the talent on this year's King team to that team a couple of years ago. And with the coach they've got, we talked about great coaches. I mean, it doesn't get better than Jim Gaz. So he's going to be able to put them in a position to succeed, and he'll have a game plan just should that come to pass that they run into Germantown. And like you said, a lot of great teams along the way if they make it that far.
Yeah. So that they do have an interesting squad, and we'll kind of see what materializes between now and next week and beyond with Milwaukee King. We'll talk about what happened in Brookfield Central Germantown a little bit next week. We'll know what happens at that point as well. But that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Preps Plus Extra. For more Preps Plus action, you can watch me and Lance Allen every Sunday night on TMJ4. Take care.